Ric Flair debuts on AEW television. Will Ospreay is a free agent, and WWE travels to Berlin for their first PLE in Germany. Bash at Berlin, this time on Wrestling with the Business.
Woo! Welcome in episode 29, Wrestling with the Business. Jeremy, Matt, and myself, welcome back. We got a interesting episode tonight. We got a little
Mixed bag.
Ric Flair showing up in AEW, Sting, who's going to retire or who his final match will be. We'll discuss that in a little bit. TNA changing their name. Or, I'm sorry, Impact going to TNA. See, I already think they're TNA. I think it's better already.
They've always been.
So just get rid of the Impact. It makes it even better. But, we got a lot to go over today. Let's just jump right into that, shall we? First big conversation today. Impact announcing the big speech out in the ring. Now, you got to help me out here. Who was the guy in the ring? Scott
Demore.
What's his title?
He is the owner.
Does he own it now?
Yeah.
So he comes out, very good, very, very good speech. It was actually very, his I'll give him an A+ on the performance level. Very good. But he came out and announced that they're going to be changing over to TNA. Looks like January 2024. So
yeah, TNA really sullied their name over the years, so hence why I think they decided to go to Impact. And 7 years now? I think the stink is off the name, so it's about time to go back and get a little nostalgia pop from it.
Was there really any stink on it, though?
Yeah.
Dixie
Carter,
and
Hogan.
Yeah, they really.
I'll tell you right now, when he said Dixie Carter, she got an ovation.
Not even that, but even changing ownership so frequently over several years.
Eric Bischoff,
Jeff
Jarrett,
not paying their paychecks.
I think she got a pop because the glory days of X Division. I mean, you associate that time with Christopher Daniels, with AJ Styles, with Sting, with Jeff Hardy, with amazing performances.
There's definitely I got to think. There's definitely a very, very long history with TNA.
Yeah.
You look at the Jeff Jarrett.
2002?
Yeah, right after WCW closed.
Yeah, the Jeff Jarrett era. Then you had even Eric Bischoff in there for a while, kind of like the executive producer behind the scenes for a while.
That's when people say it started going downhill, though.
Yeah, true. You had the whole Kurt Angle, the Mafia with Sting and Scott Steiner, and you had that whole storyline for a while, all those guys there.
I mean, the Knockouts division has been the premier women's division.
Aces and Eights, that was an awesome storyline.
Yeah. And then it kind of feels like just yesterday, but it really was a long time ago when they were going through the problems with the paychecks and they weren't doing well. And then
Billy Corgan owned it for a while.
What was the company that came in and bought them? Started with an A, right?
Anthem,
yeah.
Yep.
They came in, kind of bought them. That's I think where Impact kind of came about. And but you know what? I've always kind of referred to them as TNA myself. Yeah. I think when you're in the business of the three letters, it just comes off the tongue a little bit better, I mean, I get you may want to be a little different, but you now have WWE, you have AEW, and you got good old TNA. And I think it's a marketing move, and I think it's a great marketing move. I think they'll pick up some more buzz. I mean, we talked about just a couple weeks ago how they were investing money into the set and the production, and so they clearly are. Maybe they got behind the scenes, cleaned up some of their expenses, put some cheaper wrestlers on the payroll where they can now start to invest a little bit more, and I feel like sometimes you get better product with wrestlers that aren't signed on a multi-million-dollar deal. You can test a little bit more. You can try some different things. They don't have all the requirements of what they can do and what they can't do.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of can do their roster is filled with talent that could work anywhere.
Yeah.
And I don't know how they're keeping them. I don't know if it's just like a loyalty thing. I mean, a guy like Alex Shelley's been there for so long, I kind of understand that. But how a guy like Steve Macklin hasn't,
Your favorite speedball, Mike Bailey?
Speedball, yeah. I mean, there are tons of people on that promotion right now that can work anywhere else. It's just pure happenstance. So, and there's a lot of investment. We just talked about huge production investments just got reported to them, and they're going to start traveling around a lot more than they used to, and leaving the impact zone or whatever they're calling it now, a lot more. So, yeah, it's definitely. They don't air live, which is a huge advantage. We learned a lot about
saving money for that.
If you watch the OVW, they've already recorded Bound for Glory, and there's been leaks and rumors about that. But I mean, it's an outstanding choice. They're rebranding. I think it's going to work out great, and I wish them the best. They just re-signed PCO.
Yep. He's been big on the indies for a while now.
Which is awesome. And he had some amazing barn burner matches this year. He's an insane person, and he's in the perfect career. So, I mean, I wish him all the luck, and that's awesome.
You mentioned Bound for Glory. That's their big WrestleMania show of the year. And who should happen to be backstage but good old Phil.
Take a drink. One Bill Phil backstage. Kind of interesting that he makes it. It was in Chicago. It was in Chicago.
Are we surprised?
Well, I'm sorry. It wasn't for the show. It was after the show was over and they were recording the following Impact.
Oh.
Then he showed up backstage. Kind of interesting.
So he's not. So eventually he will be on TV then. At Impact.
I don't. No, he was just shaking hands.
So he didn't. When you say backstage, he wasn't an actual segment.
Yeah, he showed up for the recording and was.
And his Ace Steel, his friend from AEW, and for years before that, he was a producer on the show. So, yeah, he was probably there to see him too.
What D'Amore is doing with that company is God's work. I mean, he's really resuscitated it back to life, and he's breathing.
They took it down. They made the shows really small, like you said. They're not doing anything live.
No.
They really became an indie promotion, and they've really been building themselves up.
And how many owners do you know are willing to be body slammed through a flaming table by Bully Ray? Because Scott D'Amore did earlier this year.
Yeah, let's see. Vince McMahon did that.
And Shane have done that before.
Shane has. Shane's taken some pretty risky stuff.
I'm pretty sure there was a tables match between Vince and Shane and the Dudley Boys in 2000 that Linda McMahon sanctioned as CEO.
But was it a flaming table?
Was it a flaming table? I mean, come on, but it was
just
still
saying.
It was still a tables match. You gotta give him some credit for that.
Just saying. So, this is insane.
So the buzz is good for TNA right now. So I think adapting that name, do it now. You know what I mean? The buzz is good. People are talking positive about you.
Mickey's back.
Yep,
Mickey's
James.
back, and she's wrestling, and she's vying for the title. I mean, it's going very well. I mean,
who's their Knockouts champion now? Trinity?
I think it's Giselle Shaw.
Oh, it just switched.
It's not Trinity anymore. Yeah, they're Knockouts champion.
Spoilers.
I think it's Giselle Shaw. But Mickey's going for it at Bound for Glory. So we'll see what happens. So that's cool.
All
right, so that's the TNA news. TNA.
You want to jump into AEW a little bit? Talk about what happened
we've
this
got
week?
one other topic that's non-AEW and WWE that's interesting. You already brought up his name, and we already brought up CM Punk's name. So I love this. So we talked about how none of the two big promotions aren't going to touch him. So Billy Corgan, who owns NWA promotion, said, "Yeah, we'd love to have CM Punk. We can't afford him, but if he wants to come back to have some fun," which is pretty much exactly where I said we would be at this point, which is, no one's going to pay you what you're worth. The only reason to come back and do it would be to have some fun. That would be the only reason, because nobody wants you.
Yeah, I doubt it.
No, he's not going there at all.
I'm telling you, he's going to be in Chicago when WWE rolls into town. Telling you right now.
Probably, but I don't think Triple H is going to touch him with a 39.5 foot
I mean, there's a slim chance. I wouldn't be shocked if he showed up to Survivor Series.
I think in 5 years, the next time you'll see him, you will see him on a WWE ring.
5 years?
It'll be in 5 years, and it'll be to induct him into the Hall of Fame.
I'm sorry, but if you're CM Punk, you can't go 5 years without doing it. He's got to do something now.
It'll be, that's what I'm saying. He's going to drift off into the sunset.
He's got to bank some more money before he retires.
Do MMA stuff or whatever. He'll give seminars and talks on other combat sports, and you might see him premiere on little tiny promotions here or there, make appearance fees and stuff, but you're not,
What's in Chicago, Survivor Series?
Yep.
Oh, yeah, he's going to be there for sure.
Oh,
by the way, that's got to be something for some bonus points for the Divas belt, that if someone can get the big surprise, I'm going to put CM Punk returns, I should get 10 points for that.
All right, but it's going to count against you if it doesn't
lose
happen.
10 points if he doesn't show up.
Bonus. It's See, here we go. Here's a tag team.
It's called a wager.
Handicap match.
It's called a wager.
The last pay-per-view, I had to put forth a wager.
Yeah, you have to wage.
It was not
something.
a bonus.
There has to be a risk associated. We're not playing with a net, okay? Anyways, I thought that was funny and interesting. So yeah, let's go to the big ones now.
So let's just jump into it. Ric Flair showing up on AEW Dynamite yesterday.
That's a pop.
Yeah.
That's a pop that only Ric Flair gets.
You'll have to watch our episode of Ring the Bell on Tuesday to really hear our personal opinions of the Ric Flair.
You know what? I'd like to know what Matt thinks about that. Is it an act of desperation to bring Ric Flair back like this, or is it not?
No, it's not.
God.
Like, if it had been announced ahead of time, and if it hadn't been so close to what we saw with NXT a week or two ago, with WWE throwing absolutely everybody into NXT just to beat AEW, that was desperate. Bringing Ric Flair in as a gift to Sting for his retirement because they have such a close history together, no, that's not desperate. Sorry, it's not.
I mean, has anyone taken the time to think about what has to go in for that to happen?
Very little.
Very little?
Very little.
His son-in-law works there. They already had plans to bring him in a year or two ago before the...
They've got his number. All you
Dark
got
Side
to
of
do
the
is
Ring
say,
episode
hey,
came
we'll
out.
pay your expenses and throw $1,000 at you or donate to some charity. It could be done in a couple of phone calls.
Yeah.
Like, it's not hard.
Boy.
It's not a long-term contract or anything like that. It's just bringing him in for an appearance. He'll go and be Sting's valet at the next couple pay-per-views
Yeah,
or
when
something.
they go to Revolution, hopefully he's at ringside.
No, that's what he was saying.
Yeah.
He said he'll be there that night.
At
So.
Revolution, so that'd be awesome. You'd shake his hand, and he gets to wave to the crowd, and I mean that's what wrestling's all about. I mean, it's
No,
the
I don't think
hellos
it's
and the
desperate.
goodbyes. I mean,
I don't think it's desperate. If he brings him in for every episode after this, up until Revolution, or he has
We shall
him take
see.
bumps or
We
something,
shall see.
that might be different. But this appearance, no.
People know that it's acts of desperation, so he's going to do it differently, so it doesn't look like an act of desperation. That's how these guys think, Jeremy.
conspiracy.
Do you know
You sound like a crazy.
Do you know
person.
the deaths that these guys have gone through over the years to hide certain things or to make in the world of wrestling where they have to literally lie to your face and make it seem like it's not happening because there's so many freaks that are reading all the snap all the cheat sheets and all that. You have to do it. So you have to do that. I
No,
mean,
that's over. That's over. The world of the dirt sheets is dead. Okay?
What?
Yeah, what they're doing is they're doing
the hardcore fans are still reading those.
the same thing the government does. They strategically leak things. And the fact that they didn't strategically leak Ric Flair's appearance tells you that it's not an act of desperation.
even
I don't want to ruin Tuesday's show.
Even
but-
Sting looked legitimately surprised
Of course he did.
when his music hit.
He should get an A+.
Of course he did. Of course. Give him an Academy Award.
He
Give him
should
an-
be.
give him
He
an
should get
Emmy.
an award for
Give him
it.
an Oscar.
I mean, I
He
just
never
don't.
acted that good in any of his matches.
No, he didn't. Man, he sells it good when he's not getting punched. Yeah. Anyways, it was really cool.
It's just
I
another
enjoyed
thing that
seeing it.
didn't need to happen.
Always
on
good to
Dynamite.
see Ric Flair again, right?
Definitely not styling and profiling anymore with that suit he was wearing.
Well,
Oof.
yeah, he doesn't care anymore.
Yeah.
He did. I mean, I mean, we're at the point now where Ric Flair could have a good voice and could be. He really shouldn't be in the ring anymore.
No,
I
absolutely
mean,
not.
I mean, he just shouldn't. I mean, I'm talking like even like segments like that. He shouldn't be in the ring.
Reportedly, he does still want to wrestle.
Of course,
He didn't like his last retirement match. But
I want to, related to that, I want to bring up something else. So, related to this. So, Sting is retiring. There are some whispers in the wind, pun intended, regarding who will or should be a part of his retirement match. And I've got a few different names.
I didn't think of that.
I want to throw them out.
Can I ask a
See
question
what you
just
guys
before you
think.
say that?
Sure.
Why would anyone want to do that match?
Oh, it's an honor.
Is it?
Are you
Absolutely.
kidding me? What an incredible honor. Yes.
Dude.
If I'm a young guy, you think I want to do that?
I mean, that's like playing on Michael Jordan's team for his last game.
Right.
I mean, that's like playing on Derek Jeter's team.
Okay, first off, this is pro wrestling, not basketball. When one of those guys, when a athlete retires, maybe besides Tom Brady, normally they're retired. That's the end of it. Have we not seen this over and over and over again with wrestling, where they retire and then they go show up over there? Edge.
It's
Edge. This
different.
is my retirement match again.
No,
Really?
no,
Out of
no,
all
no.
people, Sheamus. We all knew that was a fluke from the minute it happened, and he leaves, and now he's going and signs a 3-year deal at AEW. So much for retiring.
I don't think he called that his retirement match. He
It
said
was-
his last
it was-
match in WWE. Or
I
his
think,
last
the
match
word
on
retirement was
SmackDown.
thrown around there a little bit.
I don't think so. And going out, being retired because of an injury, like Edge was, like Sting was when he left WWE, that's different
If,
too.
if a miracle occurs and you heal from this unhealable thing, that's not.
If
That's not a
this
retirement.
if the pro wrestling was an industry where when you actually say you're retiring, you retired, then I could see someone wanting to do that match. But I don't think we see that in pro wrestling.
Even if that isn't true,
we don't. They come back.
Even if that isn't true, though, you're going to tell me Undertaker's last WrestleMania that it wasn't an honor to wrestle him?
Okay.
Just because he came back and chokeslammed Braun Breaker 6 years later or
There's a
whatever?
few people that I would say understand the word retirement. People like Shawn Michaels. When he retired, he was done.
Except for Saudi Arabia.
Okay. And the Undertaker. Undertaker is one of the most serious guys out there. We all know that.
He still came back to the ring and chokeslammed.
No. Retiring is coming out and doing that. That's not having a match and being on the show doing matches. That's coming back. Coming out for a quick 2-minute segment, chokeslamming. That's not really coming out of retirement.
At 64?
64.
At 64, you don't think he's retiring now?
Who?
Staying.
That's the implication behind what you're
No,
saying.
I tell you right now, we will see him in
matches.
another match for sure. It's why he's been at WCW, the TNA, the AEW, or WWE. Then he's moved himself from one after another. He can't give it up. He will be back in some kind of independent promotion doing another match.
You need to go watch our Falls Count Anywhere from last week.
FCA.
He was in WCW for 15 plus years.
Yeah, I don't doubt it.
He was there until the doors closed.
Right.
He was in TNA for another 10, 15
until the
years.
doors closed.
Until all that shit with not being paid. He was he was only out of WWE because he got injured.
Right. And then he went to AEW. So he's been everywhere. He can't give it up.
That doesn't mean he's bouncing around and around.
He's been doing it for
every
40
promotion that's bouncing
years.
around.
And he's been doing it for 40 years.
I tell you right now that it may not be tomorrow. It may not be whenever he retires officially. But I'm telling you that within the next year, you'll see him at some independent circuit doing something in the indies. And it won't be retirement. I'm just telling you.
If that's your measurement, then Hulk Hogan has been everywhere. Ric Flair has been everywhere.
That's why I'm telling you. In the world
Undertaker
of pro,
was in WCW.
In the world of pro wrestling, they never retire when they retire.
Steve Austin was in WCW.
Really, the only person I've ever really say has actually ended would probably be the Undertaker. Has anyone come back? I mean, he has not done a match. That's retired. Okay, he stopped. That was his last match. Never did. Coming out for 1 minute and chokeslamming somebody is not coming out of retirement.
Which one was his last match, though?
I don't know.
Exactly.
I don't care to know that
He's
stuff.
had 3 retirement matches.
Who?
Undertaker. When he laid his hat and coat in the ring at the end of WrestleMania, then he came back.
Well,
like
it was
6 months
perceived
later.
that he retired. It never was announced. This is his retirement
His
match.
last match was never announced as his retirement match. He just said on a backstage interview or on one of those shows on the network that he's not wrestling anymore.
This retirement is going to be way more.
Long story short, in the pro wrestling industry, they don't retire. So I don't. If he actually was retiring, it'd be an honor to do it. I just don't feel like that's the case. Sorry.
All right. Well, then,
how do they know though?
Who?
Whoever's wrestling Sting? How do they know it's not going to be his retirement match? And
that's why would someone want to do that match? I don't know why.
That's what I mean. In the moment, it's like, yeah, this is his last match until a year or 2 or 3 later when he changes his mind.
And then it throws out everything that was accomplished.
But in the moment, that's got to be an honor to be in his last match.
This is not going to be some amazing match. This is not going to knock anybody's socks off.
No.
Well, this 64, he can't wrestle.
This is... Right, it's probably going to be a tag team match like Ric Flair's was or something. I mean, this is going to be...
He wrestles 1v1.
This is going to be a gift to the fans, a gift to Sting,
a chance to say goodbye,
a chance to say goodbye,
pass the
torch. See him again. Yeah, we're not going to see...
Clearly 2 Sting fans here.
We're going to see the Stinger Splash.
Watch our Falls Count Anywhere.
Deathlock.
I don't doubt it. I'm saying it's clearly you guys are getting symbolic with it. Is this going to be an emotional trail for you guys for the next 3 months?
I might cry.
I can't do this every week until Sting's officially done.
This is
you
one
two
of the
coming
reasons,
out here and doing this.
This is one of the reasons that professional wrestling is great.
Yes.
And one day you're gonna feel like this about John Cena. That's all I have to
Who,
say.
me?
Yep.
I don't think so.
You are. You think he should be on the Mount Rushmore?
I know. No.
The day that Austin Theory retires, he'll be crying.
All right, let me get into
he's a good young talent doesn't mean I think he should be the best.
Let me get into this list. Okay.
I can't wait to hear this list.
So let me ask the question to you: who should help retire Sting? And then let me ask the question to you: who should bear the dishonor that might be associated with having to wrestle Sting?
The albatross around his neck.
In his not.
You're gonna have to give me names,
match.
and I'll have to pick one.
So
I think it makes sense that Darby Allin be his final opponent. Pass the torch on to Darby.
The first name on the list is Darby Allin. Yes.
Well, they've been involved with each other for a while, right?
Since Sting's been there.
So that makes sense. I would have just off of that. I would have to agree with it.
Teacher-student storylines, tale as old as time, right?
Mm-hmm.
This one not so good. MJF.
No, why?
Sting's always gone for the gold. The big gold belt is always kind of been one of his things.
That would be fun, but
would be a great honor for MJF, obviously, to actually retire him.
Mm-hmm.
He's the AEW champion.
The
Why?
worst
He
option-
doesn't have to do it.
The worst option would be Ric Flair,
Mm-hmm.
which obviously anytime you see Ric Flair on the screen.
Can I pause for a second? If Sting and Ric Flair really did this match, would you two sit there and watch it?
Oh,
Out of all seriousness and watch that match?
It would be painful, though.
Yeah.
It would be one. I would have to
would-
close my eyes if I had to watch that match.
It would be painful.
That would be one of the matches that you watch to see how bad it could be.
Yeah, that's a painful one. Which is why I don't think they're going to do it.
Any smart man wouldn't make that match happen.
That's so bad, there's no honor in it, almost. This one's interesting. Andrade. So his son-in-law, Andrade, could be interesting.
Wrestling in place of Ric Flair, that could
Andrade was there for Ric Flair's retirement match.
make a story out of that.
Participated in that, so it could be interesting. Then, the wild card. Goldberg.
Oh,
Goldberg has been sort of hinting for like a year that he wants a retirement tour. Nobody's been willing to give it to him. In an act of desperation, perhaps Tony Khan is willing to pay him. And Sting and him are pretty tight, even though Goldberg is known for being pretty stiff and difficult to work with.
he could probably get him up for a jackhammer easier than Undertaker.
Maybe. That being said, if you're Goldberg, you'd have to wave an awful lot of money at me to beat up some old dude that still isn't shooting testosterone like I am.
Yeah,
So
that would have to be a double retirement match.
So those are the names that have been dropped.
There's no other?
Those are the 5 that I've seen.
See the tease you did earlier. I thought you were thinking somebody else.
Who?
Whispers in the Wind.
No. I don't think
As,
that would be as like an I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So that should be a part of the tour.
Jeff Hardy to
So I
make
think-
up for their infamous Victory
I think
Road debacle.
This is what I think. I think on December 30th, at the newly announced pay-per-view, which is called
World's End.
World's End, they should harken back to the Victory Road. They should come out, same makeup, same get-ups. They should get a do-over. Tony Khan should give them both a do-over, and they should have a decent match. And that would give him enough, that would give him a month turnaround. I wouldn't have him wrestle again.
No.
Between now and then. I'd give him a month turnaround. That would be an extra gift to both Jeff Hardy and him to give him the option to do that. But I don't see that as being a retirement match. I'm sure that they aren't friendly with each other.
But yeah,
the Darby one sounds like the most. I think the Goldberg is just too. That's overkill.
Yeah,
I
the
mean,
Darby one seems like the most
Well,
likely.
it doesn't make any sense to bring somebody in.
No, here's the thing though. Darby makes more sense. Goldberg puts butts in seats. Goldberg would sell more. You'd get more
still a
PPV
draw.
sales. You would get more. That would get you. Yeah, that would get you butts in seats.
Maybe they bring in Undertaker for one shot.
Oh.
Get the match we never got.
Oof. The match we don't want now.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah, an interesting thought, but we'll see what happens. Leads us into the December 30th pay-per-view called
World's End.
World's End. They're going to be at Nassau Coliseum.
In Long Island. Yep.
Big. First pay-per-view in New York. It seems like...
Oh, yeah, I guess it is.
Yep,
All
first
the other
pay-per-view
ones are
in New York.
Dynamite specials.
Yep.
Yeah. So
kind
MJF
of-
will be way over there.
This will be the last pay-per-view they have, because in January they cross over to Max.
I really like that name.
HBO.
World's End.
Yeah, that's a good one. I thought when you texted this morning, I was driving, like, you know what? That's a really good name. I like that. At the end of the year, World's End. End up storylines, end what you need to end, and start fresh. I
That's
like
one
that.
thing I have to give Impact credit for. Their pay-per-view names are awesome.
Yeah.
Bound for Glory. Like, they're all... what's the Death Before Dishonor?
Ring of
Is
Honor.
the
yep.
Ring of Honor one. There are some... The indies really understand
Yeah.
the importance of nomenclature. Yeah, I don't know.
Is the... I know you've mentioned it a few times. Is the Max deal definitely starting in January? I thought it was still up in the air.
Last I heard, it was supposed to be for 2024, that it was going to start in 2024. Specifically which month? I don't
Not
know.
necessarily January.
Maybe I
Okay.
just assumed January. And I believe it was also for the Library of Information. Yeah, it just says is moving to Max in 2024.
Okay, so it could be any time. All right.
So, yeah, they're expanding.
So, yeah,
But
they're definitely expanding to one pay-per-view a month, though. That's
which is exactly. I mean, they're doing it early too. I don't even know because again, they weren't supposed to do that until 2024, and they've already jammed in a bunch of actually what? Ever since August, right? It's been one a month.
All in.
Yeah, since All In, it's been one a month. So at the end of the month, and
You think that's the right move?
It'll be hard to do. I mean, it's like WWE and WCW used to do monthly pay-per-views, and it was hard on people's wallets. They didn't get every show unless you're a diehard fan.
It might be good though, because I think that especially AEW shows, they drag.
Yeah.
They get
they definitely need to shorten them, and
their roster is getting to the point where you almost have to have one every month.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just
You got
getting
3 shows.
I mean,
100+ wrestlers on the roster. If you're going to give women the time they deserve instead of one match buried in the middle of a 4-hour program and it's lackluster, yeah, I mean, you're really going to have to. A women's only pay-per-view would be cool too.
Yeah,
I'd watch that if it was good.
They got enough people between AEW and Ring of Honor. They got enough women to do that.
They could have some good matches.
They can bring in Impact and Japan and everything else.
Let's stick with AEW. Let's talk about Brock Anderson. So he got released.
Bye-bye.
See you later, Brocky. Looks like
see you later, pal.
Dad's name didn't do much for him. They really didn't do much with him at all.
And the few times you saw him, you could tell he was still very, very green. So maybe he's going to go away, get some more training, work on the indies a bit more, and maybe he'll come back in a couple years.
Yeah, it makes me wonder how much his dad has actually been involved.
Yeah.
And
Arn is still there, though. He's working as a producer, right?
In the back, yep, working as a producer. They're saying that Mark Briscoe going to be back.
From injury, good.
Which is interesting. Yeah, he hasn't been back since June, so he'll be back. They're teasing that. Speaking of injuries, Serpentico has had his arm in a sling for a while, and Darby Allin's been complaining about his shoulder.
He was in a sling this week, too, during the
Still
Sting
working.
segment.
Still working, but he's saying he's having he's working through.
Yeah, with the shit he does in the ring, it's not a surprise.
Yeah, it
should be in a back
really
brace.
Funny. This is an interesting one, and I want to get your take on this one. So
he's not a fan. It don't matter.
RVD has made a couple of appearances with AEW lately.
He was just on this past episode in Philly,
which has been pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's been good. And he's saying now that he got 2 phone calls 30 minutes apart like a couple of weeks ago. One was after his second appearance on AEW. He got a phone call basically saying, so he had been booked for WrestleMania 40, and they unbooked him after his second appearance on AEW.
Because WrestleMania 40 is in Philly also.
Right. So they called him.
So Philly's his hometown, I assume, right?
ECW.
Yeah.
He's from Michigan.
Right. Okay.
So they call him up. They're like, oh, yeah, we totally want you in Philly for WrestleMania 40. They book him. Then he appears twice. They unbook him, and 30 minutes later, Tony Khan calls him to book him for this show in Philly from last night. Does it make sense for them? Why would WWE drop him from WrestleMania 40?
Why wouldn't they drop him?
For the great sin of...
Because
is he really that?
I
mean, look, again,
he's a crowd favorite.
Hold the stop. I mean, I know I'm going to offend everybody. RVD is not one of my favorites either.
No,
okay,
I agree with you.
I think he's. I've never been. He just doesn't have that. I don't know what it is. The persona. I've never been a RVD guy. And
you think they cut him loose because WrestleMania ticket sales were so good that they said, you're not going to sell any extra tickets for us, so F you, let him go?
I mean,
that could be part of it.
We're living in a day, I guess, now where these guys they have the deals, they can just go wherever they want. And I'll be honest with you, I bet you WWE did not want him there. If he's actively showing up on AEW TV, why would I want him at WrestleMania 40?
So does that seem... petty and desperate?
Oh,
petty, yes.
WWE and petty and desperate? WWE just said, see you later, pal, we don't need you. Go be
I don't think that's desperate. It's petty, though.
But if the only sin that he committed was appearing on a different program.
No, I don't even know if it's petty. I think it's just, if you want to go be with AEW weekly, then go do that. We don't need you. I mean, we're trying to, look, RVD, where's RVD been the last couple of years? Nowhere?
He was in Impact for quite a while.
Right, but I mean, actively the last 6-7 months, not really doing much.
I believe he's been doing porn.
Okay, interesting, but
I heard something about that.
okay, so I mean, if I'm WWE, right, I extend the hey, we gotta live in the idea that at this point, some of these wrestlers they don't have anything going on. So WWE and maybe even AEW sometimes go, you know what, hey, we like to kind of keep you involved. Come to WrestleMania 40, give you a little bit of a payday. Come on in, help boost up ratings. WWE does that to RVD, and then he goes and actively does shows at AEW. I'd be like, seems like you're doing pretty well over there. Go over there. We don't need you.
Didn't he just go into the Hall of Fame last year?
Who?
RVD.
For WWE?
2021.
Yeah.
2021, yeah.
But still, like, a lot of these older guys are to the point where they're not on TV every week. They don't really have much going on. Like, they want to keep them. I'd be the same way. Like, hey, come on. Like,
the fact remains, though, he is still a crowd favorite, and especially in Philadelphia, the crowd would go insane.
He's
for
a
him.
Hall of Famer. Like, that's what I'm saying. I thought that once you became a Hall of Famer, that was a symbol of you kind of
it could be an act of pettiness. I mean, I don't really. I do think WWE probably just said after your second week, and if I was WWE manager, I wouldn't want him on our product when he's actively participating. Why? What's the point?
I just don't see how. That's, I guess, where the pettiness comes from for me. Like, how does it hurt you that he's appearing on? Like, you could easily
WWE Hall of Famer.
You could easily make the argument of, I'm glad that he's performing there. He's not good enough to perform here.
Right.
You can easily, we put him in our Hall of Fame, we honor him, we respect him. He's not good enough to wrestle on our show.
We don't know the full story. Okay, I gotta imagine there's some things that when you're behind the stage at WWE, you really shouldn't be going behind the stage at AEW too. So I'm sure there's a little bit of like, when you hear certain things and you go behind the stage at AEW and go, oh, I heard this.
Here comes the conspiracies.
Okay,
Man.
no, but like I'm not. What's the word? AEW is accusing me of roster tampering. Like when we're talking about roster tampering, like you should not have a guy on both shows behind the backstage on both shows. You just shouldn't have it.
But if he's not signed to a long-term contract,
I still wouldn't want. If I have a guy that's actively participating in on AEW, I would not want him behind the scenes at WWE. I just wouldn't want it. We're obviously competing brands. Okay, Tony Khan just had a meltdown. We don't want it. Don't want it. I don't want that backstage.
These guys are not backstage in any sense. If Rob Van Dam is not hanging out in gorilla position, he's not in the locker room with the guys. That's not the purpose of it.
You always say business to me, okay?
This is wrestling with the business.
I know, right, true. But the reality is, if I was running WWE and I saw him going to AEW, I just wouldn't want him behind our. I just wouldn't. We have a product, we have a brand, we have stuff that we're doing that's different. We don't want that. There's nothing good that comes out of him being over there.
No. It's the fans that suffer 100%. Rob Van Dam doesn't need the money either way. Like he'll get booked.
If he's doing porn, I would say otherwise.
I'm pretty sure he has his own pot strain,
weed line or something. Yeah,
if you're doing porn, you're looking for the money.
Yeah, he's got his own.
Or he
weed
just likes
line
sex.
And he's.
I guess maybe
everybody does OnlyFans now.
He's on a porn site. He's doing OnlyFans. There's a difference.
Yeah, it's the same.
Is there a difference?
I don't mean.
Come
on. Here's an interesting point. So Nick Aldis. Well, I'd like to get your review. So it's been a couple of weeks. Nick Aldis has been the GM of Raw. What do you think?
SmackDown.
Sorry, he is SmackDown.
His suits are horrible. They're just oversized. I can't take it seriously. I really can't.
He's a big guy.
He is bigger
than
I get he's big, but it's not just difficult to get suits that fits him accordingly. Like these suits are. Am I wrong, Matt? You laughed a few times, so I know you know what I'm talking about. The suits are just outrageously like they just don't seem like they fit him, and I can't. The way he's holding the mic and the way the suit, like I just can't take it seriously.
He's holding the mic like an English gentleman.
I still
come to the conclusion that Adam Pearce's job is basically to look intimidated and then smile and look at the ground.
Okay, so I did not watch Raw.
That's the only reason that's all he does.
I did not watch Raw this week. Did Adam Pearce do anything?
Him and Aldis had like a may the best man win kind of.
So Aldis was on Raw.
It looks like they're setting up for brand warfare again at Survivor Series.
They're going to do a redraft
which
and
sucks.
all that. So, yeah, there was a whole may the best man win. But
did they actually announce another draft?
It was no. They didn't actually announce a draft, but they're setting up for it. I happened to be at the gym while Raw was on, and I was watching it on mute, and I was just watching Adam Pearce, and I was like, dude, you've done that every time I've ever. No matter who you're talking to, that's what you do. You step back, you widen your eyes, you look suspicious, and then you smile and you look down. That's what you do. And then you say something, barely on topic.
The point is, I first off, as a avid WWE fan, I love the brand GM storylines. Love it. One of my favorite video games is the GM mode on SmackDown versus Raw. Mm-hmm. Great game. You build your own roster. You build your own show. Mm-hmm. I love that concept of champion, GM. You're on this show. You're in the show. But we have done this over and over again, and it just never works. And what I don't understand is that they have the talent.
Wait a minute. You like it and it never works?
I love it. I think it's a great...
But it doesn't work.
But because they don't do it the right way. It's not because they don't... They have these guys that go on these shows and they don't wrestle. Like, they have enough talent.
Your GM's not supposed to wrestle.
I'm not talking GM. I'm talking talent. They have enough talent to separate into two shows. Definitely enough talent.
So you like the idea of Survivor Series being Raw versus SmackDown?
Right. I like the idea of it being Raw versus SmackDown separate altogether. These guys don't go on this show, and this show doesn't go on this show. They have the talent. They have the talent to do it. I don't know why they always seem to lose track of that. And I don't know, this idea that
I think we talked about that on one of our very first episodes with the draft.
I just don't get it.
They want to have the big stars on all the
shows.
You
can't do that. You can't.
Well, that's why they do it, though.
They pile all their big stars on one show, or the draft just happens to work out.
They need to go to just a commissioner
or
over the entire company.
The TV station, the TV channels want the big stars.
Which is fine. But then go to just having a general manager of the whole company. You can't have two different general managers.
Well, now you got three brands to worry about too.
Yeah,
right, in charge of the same talent on both shows. Yeah, a Raw general manager should not be dictating what goes on Roman Reigns, and then Roman Reigns shows up on SmackDown. It just doesn't make any sense. If you're gonna GMs, the superstars have to stay on their respective brands. They do, and they always screw this up. I love this idea, but they always screw it up.
Yeah, they never should have put NXT on TV.
Yeah.
They should have left it on.
I agree with that. NXT is its own thing.
They should have branded it. But now they're trying to make it as big as the other two.
Right.
I mean, it needs its own. At this point, if you're going to have a Raw and a SmackDown GM, you need an NXT GM because you've moved.
How many wrestlers are all together on WWE's roster?
250?
234. I think
like
last time I looked. They may have released a couple people.
See, that's why they should have re-signed Edge. They can find
I was back on television.
Yeah, they can find a spot for Edge on one of the shows.
Yeah, it wasn't about. What are you talking about?
Drew McIntyre.
We
need
already
to sign
talked
him.
about this.
It wasn't about space. It had nothing to do with
I
space.
understand that, but they need top guys.
They need to build top guys. They've never done that.
No. WWE's doing that. AEW is not building top guys.
What? Yeah,
maybe one or two, but not a bunch of them.
WWE, just like WWE.
WWE has a lot more young guys going up.
A top guy since Roman Reigns.
Matter of fact, now they're stealing AEW talent. Jade
Cargill.
They should be. Now the fun gets to happen. Now WWE start going after AEW guys.
Now it does.
For the last 3 years, when AEW launched, everyone signed a 3-year deal.
Hang on a second, though. I don't know if I'm with you here. I've heard from WWE that AEW is a second-rate promotion.
They're not competition.
Nothing to worry about.
The point is, for the last 3 years, AEW's had fun going after WWE guys, but WWE can never go after AEW because they're all under contract. Now the funds, we have this on our sheet coming up. The fund's going to come in 2024 when WWE can start sending over the bombs over to AEW and watch what happens. And AEW is going to have to deal with Chris Jericho leaving, or MJF maybe leaving, or some of the guys that build their careers over here. They say, you know what? I don't get top dollar over here now. It's gonna happen. It's already
they'll
starting.
Get top dollar at AEW. It's
already starting. And let's see how AEW can handle that one.
Tony Khan's a smart man. I mean, that's why he signed all these deals and agreed to increase the pay-per-view count and stuff because he knows he's gonna need the cash flow. Because when these
all of the elite are already signed, they're not coming up in 2024.
He's done a good job, except for Jade Cargill. I think is the only one that's kind of slipped through. Except for her, he's pretty much secured everybody else. Yeah. And he's lining up Mercedes Moné. It's looking like she's going to make some appearances this week. They could potentially be a contender for Will Ospreay because they've done a really good job of lining him up. Mm-hmm. I mean, if they get Will Ospreay over WWE, holy shit. Like, that's game changer right there.
Speaking of which, this is the Will Ospreay you mentioned in the beginning is coming up in 2024. He'll be a free agent. This is the first time in his career where he's actively considering WWE.
He's willing to relocate.
He's said in the
United
past.
States.
He said in the past he doesn't want to do WWE because the schedule is too big. He doesn't want to work holidays and shit like that. But now
it's become relaxed.
I know about that.
WWE?
Yeah.
You can take time off now. That's part of their problem. They allow too many people to take times off now.
But nobody else, no other companies have the live event schedule that WWE has.
That could be.
They still work 4 or 5 days a week.
Yeah, they do all the dark shows.
I mean, as they should when they're making $multi-million or $500,000 a year or whatever.
But a lot of these guys don't like that kind of schedule, though. They want to go home on the weekends or during the week, whatever. But
let me just look. So 2024, Ricochet, Kevin Owens, Drew McIntyre, Becky Lynch.
Are these all contracts up?
These are all contracts up this year. Will Ospreay. And, of course, so Drew McIntyre, they must have just done like a 1-year extension on him because he went dark. Remember last year?
Yeah.
No, he had injury time.
No, but he went dark. His Twitter went black. He took all the WWE stuff off his Twitter and disappeared for a couple of months. Remember that?
Yeah, there was a lot of talk about him not liking the creative and whatever else.
Exactly.
Or they weren't on terms of money or whatever.
Back.
They didn't do an extension. They added on injury time where he had to come back.
Oh, okay. Yeah, added on injury time.
So I think that because he was out for a while on an injury.
And then, of course, MJF is up in February. Now, if WWE gets MJF, I don't think they will. But if they do get MJF, that is like...
Another AEW homegrown talent.
Let's talk business for a minute. If I'm Ari, I'm gonna drive down to WWE headquarters and make a presence walking into Triple H's office, and I would say, "Who's the one guy we need to sign from AEW? The one guy that we need to sign from all of AEW." What do you think Triple H is gonna say? Sting? If Triple H had to say one guy...
Hang on, Triple H... No, be realistic.
To spend the money...
Ric Flair.
To spend the money... We have to spend money to make money. Who's the one guy from AEW we need to get to WWE? What would be your answer?
For the year of 2024, it would be MJF.
Yeah.
No, just in general. It just so happens that MJF is up in February.
No. Because down the road, I mean, I could see... I don't know when his contract is up, but you could take any one of... Except for maybe
MJF is an AEW original.
Along with Darby Allin. But the difference between Darby Allin and MJF is MJF looks the way WWE wants their wrestlers to look. Right. Darby Allin.
They would drop millions on MJF. And you know what? It'd be a huge blow to AEW. It would be.
I do not. I think Tony Khan's going to move heaven and earth. I mean, that would...
But you know what? This is the thing that AEW hasn't had to deal with yet. Is the counter negotiating. AEW is going to spend a lot of money to keep MJF. He's a lot of money.
And by the way, he's made them a fuck ton of money. So you can't.
Now he's going to spend money. That WWE's going to have to too because you don't think AEW is going to be going after Ricochet? They will, and WWE going to spend money to keep Ricochet.
Yeah.
Although Kevin Owens?
I'd much rather see Ricochet on TNA.
Yeah, Kevin Owens too.
He would get to flex.
I don't think Kevin Owens leads WWE. Why go over to that? Why go over to the clusterfuck?
And if I'm Tony Khan, I don't want him. No, I don't. I don't think he fits the promotion well.
If
I have Mark Briscoe.
If I'm Kevin Owens, He
was an indie darling though for so many years. And he's still friends with the Elite to this day.
But where is Kevin Owens going to go in AEW? Nowhere. There's nowhere to go.
Again, it's not when you're Kevin Owens. It's not about that.
It's not?
No, I think when you get into your 30s and 40s, it's more about flex a schedule, being with your family, wrestling people you've never been to wrestle before. You've already made
just
money.
Having fun.
Kevin Owens is a millionaire. He's got investments. He's got other stuff going on. Like, he's not worried about money. Money isn't his primary concern anymore. Not everybody's The Rock, dude. Not everybody just wants more to have more, you know?
I think in the wrestling business, it's about money. They want money.
That's money's an important thing.
Why do you think Ric Flair has done what he's done over the years? Don't tell me Ric Flair is rich because he's not.
Ric Flair would look back and tell you he made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, because he needed the money.
He put himself in a position to need the money because of the cocaine and the hookers and the drinking and all the other bad stuff.
That's the industry. I mean,
not
and
anymore,
the 4
dude.
alimony.
Maybe not anymore, but it's still, you still have stuff going on backstage.
Sure, but it's nothing like it was before. Not even a little bit.
All right.
WWE. Should we move on to WWE?
Yeah, let's talk about this this new pay-per-view next August.
I want to know, are you excited about it? Bash in Berlin, August 31st, 2024.
The avid WWE fan doesn't care.
Because I'm tired of these. I'm tired of these pay-per-views with the crown jewels and just have a pay-per-view. Make it entertaining. I'm done with these pay-per-views that are overseas or wherever, where half the card goes and the other half doesn't, and it's just a money grab. That's all it is.
I want to pat myself on the back because I predicted.
You called this. Yeah.
I called this 100%. That they're going to be expanding international. That the United States is not their primary source anymore.
Well, yeah, obviously that's where
spent
they're doing for growth.
A ton of time in England. They spent time in India. They're testing
going
the
to
waters.
Australia.
Yep. They sold out. They're talking about maybe doing Paris sometime, a big PLE in Paris in the next couple of years.
Yeah, what one was it? Backlash.
Backlash. Yep. They're talking about Backlash.
As a WWE fan, I'm going to say focus on making your shows entertaining before doing that.
They don't need to. They
do, because sometimes the content's not that great a lot of the times.
Hundreds of millions of people.
They're not that great.
And you're still watching it. And they're still making billions of dollars.
I'm a loyal WWE fan. If they had AEW, see, this is why I don't understand.
Now they want to
AEW.
make a bunch of
Because I'm not gonna lie.
I'm
not gonna lie. AEW has some interesting storylines. They just can't seem to get them over on some of them. I just don't understand why they're not doing better than what they are. I think it's just they have a way overstocked roster. That's the problem. The reality is those type of storylines over at WWE would do a killing, but they don't do it. I don't know what the deal is. I feel like half the wrestlers are always on vacation at WWE. They should have a full card every single week where Roman Reigns should not have the belt for 4 years. There's plenty of people to give the title to. I don't know why we're doing that. It's stale content.
We've talked about this before. WWE appeals to a different fan than AEW. The WWE fan that they cater to does not care about story. They go to the shows and watch the shows on TV to see the people they like. They don't give a damn about story. Otherwise, WWE would have changed their ways years ago. An AEW storyline would not appeal to today's WWE
They're going to be
fan.
at the...
I don't know if I agree with that.
They're going to be at the Mercedes-Benz Arena in Berlin, which has a max capacity of about 17,000. So, expectations.
So it's not even a big place. Okay.
Expectations are, pretty... Or expectations are that they're going to sell out. I mean...
Well, they'll sell out 17,000.
Maybe they want it to be... they're going over to Germany. Like I said, Germany is a great place because you're an hour plane ride from frickin' everywhere. I mean, it's Central Europe. Mm-hmm. So, it's... Anyways, yeah, that's interesting. What about... Oh, I wanted to ask you. So DIY reunites.
Yeah, they got back together a couple weeks ago.
On Raw... Good, bad, good to see Johnny wrestling and Tommaso.
I'm excited to see it. I was a big fan of them in NXT. They were fantastic.
They're kind of a little older, a little burnout-ier now.
But didn't Gargano lose the match this week before Ciampa came out and saved him? I didn't actually see it.
No, he went over. So it was against.
Maybe I'm thinking the last.
It was against Vinci.
And
there was some interference.
I'm glad to see it,
Kaiser.
But I'm waiting to see how it goes.
There was some interference from Kaiser. Tommaso Ciampa comes out, saves him, and then Johnny goes over.
That's right. It was a distraction or something.
It was a distraction.
Yeah, I don't have high hopes. I just want to wait and see how it goes. But yeah, I'm glad they're back together. They were a fantastic tag team.
Talk about business. I had to mention, so Dana White was interviewed, Sports Illustrated, and he's got nothing but good things to say about Vince McMahon now.
It's his boss. He has to.
He said Vince McMahon is not his boss.
Well, he's executive chairman. One could argue he's his boss.
I'm pretty sure that was... So, there was a lot of bad blood between these two.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, Dana White has said on multiple occasions, this guy tried to fuck me over for no reason other than just to fuck me over.
That's Vince. I'm sure he respects it at the end of the day.
So that's what he said. He basically was like, but now that I'm on the same side of the table with him, he's a great advocate. He's value add. I think he called him the Michael Jordan of businessmen.
That's business. No, I don't know if Vince is the Michael Jordan of business.
So I guess the question is it genuine? Or is it a work?
I tell you right now, he might not be the direct boss of Dana White, but there's definitely a little bit of like, I need Vince on my side. Like Vince. I mean, I don't know what Normally, when you look at business, you look at title. Normally, executive chairman's a pretty serious position. Normally, it's executive chairman. It's a chairman that's involved in the day-to-day operations of the company, hence why it says executive. But normally the role of a chairman is organizing and superseding over a committee that the CEO reports to. So, I mean, I get that Endeavor owns 51%, but normally the executive chairman position is a position of authority over the personnel of the company. And that would be Dana White. So I mean, again, I don't know how the instructions would work. Maybe they just gave him that title, but I'm pretty sure Vince McMahon has some authority over Dana White.
I think that may be the case, but I think it's just bad business to talk bad about somebody you work with in public.
For sure. Well, what's the point of it? I mean, they're on the same side now. I mean, Dana White, no, he's not an idiot. He's a smart guy.
I think that they keep the two business units separate from each
Well,
other.
they do.
I thought they do too. That's why.
Well, they do, but at the end of the day, the UFC's team can help WWE's team, and WWE can help UFC's team. They have a lot of. I mean, you look at two entities that are very good on their own. Well, they now brought a lot of those people together under one roof. That's going to help both promotions.
This might not be the same comparison, but would someone from NBC, would they be on the USA side of things? I don't know. Maybe that's a bad comparison.
Usually not. Usually they're considered separate divisions inside. So yeah, it would make sense for them to coordinate, and it's in Ari's best interest to be like, hey, boys, get along, play nice with each other. But the idea that Dana has to, go up with his hat in his hand and ask Vince permission to do X, Y, Z or to clear something with Vince or anything like that, absolutely not. There's no way.
No, but I'm sure when Vince walked into a UFC event,
Vince goes to a UFC event?
I'm sure if there's a big UFC pay-per-view going on and the TKO executive chairman walks in, I'm sure Dana White's walking up and kissing his ass a little bit.
I have a feeling it has more to do with okay, how can we integrate our two talents together to help make us better? So we brought Logan Paul on. It's added a lot of value, put a lot of butts in seats. Can we do something like that with some of the talent that you've signed, right? How can we get whoever we want into the wrestling ring? And then vice versa. Is there anybody that you want? What about if we have some of our girls come in and be the card girls for certain shows, or do honorary? Just how can we integrate our two brands together and share talent to make it more advantageous for both of us? But there's not going to be any of the, I'm sure he has 1,000 great ideas that Dana finds interesting, but I would be surprised if it was any kind of, I don't know how many times. Dana White strikes me as the kind of guy that doesn't just forgive and forget. Doesn't just go, okay, we're on the same team now.
I'm sure he hasn't forgotten
me 5 times before. And
I'm sure it's just an act of respect that we're on the same team. But at the end of the day, if things were to go haywire, I'm sure Dana White would say...
It just struck me. It seems like Dana's been eating a lot of crow lately between that and the Bud Light endorsement, talking about how Bud Light and UFC's morality aligns. I've heard a lot of talk about how the fighters didn't know the Bud Light sponsorship was coming in and they're not big fans of it. I'm just wondering if Dana isn't maybe selling his soul a little bit here for profits.
Can I bring something up?
Sure.
It's not on our sheet. Now that we kind of talk a lot more wrestling, I'm always kind of clicking on the links on Facebook, so I get a lot more of these the wrestling news and things that pop up on Facebook. And this one said, I'm laughing because it came up as Chris Jericho, and it goes, Chris Jericho once said that AEW Dynamite will beat WWE Raw in ratings soon, and then it goes, here are last week's ratings, and all of them together don't beat Raw.
Yeah, I saw that one too.
I think it came up on my feed. I thought that was funny. Just a little AEW.
Yeah, I mean, things don't proceed as we want to. You got to talk.
Was one show bad this week? I'm assuming. If Dynamite got 800,000, I'm assuming.
I think
they were all up this week.
Rampage took a dip this past Rampage.
Battle of the Belts was lower than previous ones.
Rampage I think was back down. They had an unusually high. They were back down.
I mean, actually, 1.5 is not bad for Raw. So really, Raw's up this week. Raw's normally 1.2, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, if that's the case, then the first episode of Dynamite beat Raw. It was 1.4.
Yeah.
So Jericho was right.
Well, maybe not. Maybe at the time, Raw was a lot higher.
Yeah. We all know WWE's ceiling is, miles higher than AEW's ceiling.
I keep saying that.
It's 100% true. I mean, they spent 40 years building a brand. They got a 36-year
history doesn't mean anything. It's all about where the content and
history doesn't mean
anything. AEW, if they're delivering serious content that people are enjoying, they should be able to beat WWE right now, no problem.
Dude, it takes time.
WWE's ratings right now are not in its place because of 40 years. It's what's on TV right now. That's why people are watching. What happened 35 years ago isn't why people are watching right now.
No, I think WWE has the name recognition.
They do for sure, but AEW's getting up there. That excuse is starting to run out.
Again, they cater to a different audience. They cater to the kids that watched it 40 years ago who now have passed it on to their kids because this is what I used to watch as a kid.
The casual fan.
Right.
Hold your nose. Go to a non. You plan on going to Royal Rumble. Go to Raw. December 4th. Raw is going to be in Albany. Go to Raw. And look at the people around you and listen to what's going on. Nobody's paying any attention to what's going on in the ring. They don't know the people's names. Okay, you're sitting in tickets that cost $100. You look left, you look right. Nobody knows what's going on. No one knows who these wrestlers are. They don't know the names of any of the moves. They don't know any of the histories.
They sing Seth Rollins music and Cody Rhodes music, and that's it.
Maybe they do that. Or maybe they turn to you and say, I'm just hoping John Cena shows up. He's been on TV the last 5 weeks. I'm telling you, these are not the same demographic of people.
But if you go to an AEW show in Albany, the crowd is completely into it from start to finish.
And yeah, it's a third the size.
They're cheering for Big Bill.
Yeah.
I agree.
Just
There's more energy out of the AEW crowd for sure.
But it's just different. It's not even about energy. It's just different because you get that kind of energy when Seth Rollins' music drops or something like that happens. You get that kind of energy. It's not that it's exclusive. It's just it's a different crowd of people. It's pop culture wrestling fans that are there to hopefully catch Logan Paul, hopefully catch Undertaker, hopefully catch John Cena, maybe know who Roman Reigns is and hope to catch him, versus people that are like, holy crap, that was a tope suicida. You know, walk around. Yeah, exactly. That's why you're a WWE fan.
Whatever.
No, and that's not a hit. I'm not taking a shot at you, but it's a symptom of what I'm talking about, which is they're different. They're different people. It takes time to turn people into, oh my God, that's a tope suicida.
Right.
I wasn't like this 20 years ago. I didn't know what a tope suicida was. So that's all.
All right.
Last question.
Nope.
Crown Jewel 11-4 next week. Should we put the belt on the line for it?
No.
That was
I think the Divas camp should get a say.
That was fast. Now I only ask because I
Survivor
think it's
Series is at the end of
2
the month.
weeks later. I think it's like 2 or 3 weeks later.
3 weeks, yeah.
3 weeks later. So right around Thanksgiving. So do we
If it's not for Crown Jewel, it's definitely for Survivor
Well,
Series.
yeah, for sure. Survivor
Oh,
Series.
for
question.
sure.
Yeah, Survivor
You guys
Series.
pick what team you want to win.
Do we want to do it now or
I'd
do we
rather
wanna
save it
wait?
for Survivor. Well, I'm not. We shouldn't waste the Divas belt on Crown Jewel.
What do you think?
Oh, screw you.
You're not holding the Divas belt. All right, we
Fine,
will.
Survivor Series it is.
And I think I'm injured for Survivor Series. That might be out another week too.
It's gonna be full gear. The Divas belt online for AEW full gear.
You know, if they are going to monthly, we're going to have to bounce back and forth, I think, starting in 2024.
Absolutely.
Well, we should incorporate some more AEW stuff too.
That means you got to start watching it.
Well, I can still decide. I can tell by looking at the names.
We can do
I
it.
think.
No, hang on. Okay, so we'll do the December 30th, World's End. We'll put the belt on the line.
Okay.
So then you got one in November with Survivor Series, and then a month later we'll do World's End.
And then we'll see who the champion is going into 2024.
And then we'll bounce back.
I don't
and
mind.
forth.
I don't mind giving Matt a little bit of a challenge with the World's End. That should be his way of getting rid of the belt.
Exactly.
He has an advantage over
Hasn't
me
gone
with
well, hasn't
AEW.
gone
well, no.
So far, no good.
I'm the ex-professor at this point. All right, so on that note, we're going to start discussing our picks for next week. We'll be talking about, what pay-per-view is it again? Oh, the Saudi show, Crown Jewel. Yeah. Check out our social medias. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter, X, whatever. And check out our other shows. We got Falls Count Anywhere dropping on Monday, which is going to be part 2 of our Wrestling Lingo. Did part 1 a few months back.
Yeah, it was one of our first shows.
One of our first shows. And check out on Tuesday, Ring the Bell, where these guys have a heated discussion on the Ric Flair AEW debut. So definitely take a look at those. And in the meantime, if you keep watching, we'll keep wrestling with business.